Alberta's NDP thinks the Chicago free speech principles are terrible, and they don't want them mandated at Alberta post-secondary schools, which is just another reason for Albertans to reach around and pat themselves on the back for not electing these censorious authoritarians. This here is the letter from Alberta's former education minister, now education critic, David Eggen. He wants Alberta's new United Conservative government's policy to implement the Chicago principles on post-secondary campuses to be stopped. His letter reads, "We are writing to urge you to drop your ill-conceived scheme to impose the so-called Chicago principles on Alberta's post-secondary institutions. At best, they are redundant and offensive to the standard already upheld by our province's schools. And at worst, they are licensed for hatred on campuses, and in all cases, your imposition of them encroaches on the self-governance of Alberta's colleges, institutions, and universities." Alberta's former Premier, Rachel Notley, thinks that adopting the Chicago principles means giving a platform to hate mongers. This is her tweet here. "This is not about free speech on campus. We already have free speech. This is about the UCP dictating that universities and colleges give everyone, including hate groups, a platform." Now, personally, I'm a little skeptical when the NDP label someone or something a hate group, especially since they routinely compare conservatives to Nazis, and they do it with impunity. I mean, here is NDP MLA Maria Fitzpatrick tweeting that Conservative Premier Jason Kenney preaches hatred and is trying to divide and conquer people just like the rise of Hitler. Jason Kenney in federal politics was always a good friend to the state of Israel, and Maria Fitzpatrick, on the other hand, is running ground cover for actual neo-Nazis by just lumping them in with normal everyday conservatives. All the while, the NDP and their appointees are the ones that are trying to digitally burn my book. Find out all about that at savesheila.com. So what are these Chicago principles? The way the left talks about them, they must have been written by Hitler himself. And moreover, the left is counting on you not reading the Chicago principles or even finding out a little bit about them. The left is counting on you just to accept their interpretation of the Chicago principles without you fact-checking them for yourself. The Chicago principles came into existence in 2014. They were adopted in Obama's hometown when he was the president of the United States. These aren't some quote-unquote Hitlerian tools of the mean orange man currently in the White House. Let me quote to you a little bit from the Chicago principles so you can see just how insane and intolerant and authoritarian the NDP really are in their opposition to them. Although members of the university community are free to criticize and contest the views expressed on campus and to criticize and contest speakers who are invited to express their views on campus, they may not obstruct or otherwise interfere with the freedom of others to express views they reject or even loathe. To this end, the university has a solemn responsibility not only to promote a lively and fearless freedom of debate and deliberation, but also to protect that freedom when others attempt to restrict it. How can any sane person in a free country be against these principles, which protect the free and liberal exchange of ideas at a publicly funded institution of higher learning meant to prepare people for the real world where others just might have different ideas than they do? The principles protect the rights of the speaker, the rights of the audience to the speaker, and the faculty to express dissent and disagreement to the speaker. No one's rights trump another person's rights here. Universities will or have already become NDP factories, puking out ill-prepared, intolerant snowflakes out into society like one of those snowmaking machines you see down at the ski resort. But isn't that exactly what these NDP censors really want? Conservative parents paying a fortune to have their kids sheltered and then indoctrinated into becoming future NDP voters. And really, is it any wonder that an NDP that opposes a policy to entrench a university's solemn responsibility to promote lively and fearless freedom of debate would then be responsible for creating a bureaucracy called the Elections Commissioner that goes around investigating journalists for writing illegal books? For the Rebel.media, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. To see the full story of how NDP holdovers in a newly created censorship bureaucracy called the Elections Commissioner are investigating me because I wrote a book about the government, go to savesheila.com, and while you're there, you can help me cover the ballooning legal fees to fight these authoritarians. That's at savesheila.com.